Hello everybody and welcome to episode number 3 of Lockdown Cooking from the Green Frog here in Argasi, Zakynthos. Say hello to everybody, mother.
Hello.
Today, what we're going to be cooking?
Kleftico.
Kleftico, woohoo! Alright, so we've done Kleftico, we did it a couple of days ago and we've recorded it all and we're going to show it to you very, very soon. And as we said in the description and before, we did it the traditional way. We dug a hole, so we're going to get to see all that, and we prepared it that kind of way. Just a quick note before we get started and show you the video. We've posted 2 recipes in the comment section. First recipe is how we did it a couple of days ago, where we buried it underground. And then the second recipe that we posted is how we cook it here in the Green Frog, which is a little bit different, but both are very good. And in a moment, my mother will describe about the difference between the two. And before we get started, one more thing. We're just going to tell a little story about the Kleftico and its significance. What happened was about 500 years ago, when Greece was occupied, the poor farmers would have to flee to the mountains because they would refuse to bow down to foreign occupation. They had very, very high taxation on their lands, and so they couldn't really afford to eat. So what they would do is occasionally go and steal the odd goat and whatever kind of, say, vegetables they could, and then they would bury it underground with whatever herbs and other stuff they could find as well. And the reason they did that is because they did not want to get caught, because if they lit a fire and there was smoke and there was the smell of cooking meat, it would give their position away, so they would have to bury it. And then what they would do is they kept moving around because there was patrols by the Turks at the time, and they didn't want to get caught. So they would return to where they buried their food after however many hours, unearth it, and then enjoy their meal. So that's a little brief history about what Kleftico is. And now would you explain to us about the difference a little bit between the recipes and what we did in the video and the Green Frog recipe? Okay.
So in the recipe that we made, that we're going to be showing you, we're using a whole leg of lamb. We're using quite big, roughly chopped pieces of vegetables, and it's definitely a more sort of traditional version of Kleftico. It's pretty easy, I would say. It's kind of a throw everything in the pot, stick it in the oven, leave it there and say a prayer and hope it comes out all right kind of recipe, and it does. The other version, sorry about the noise, there's swallows above us that are nesting and they're making quite a lot of noise.
They're good luck though, aren't they?
Yeah, they're good luck, but they do make a bit of a mess as well. Anyway, the second recipe that I've posted is the recipe that we make in the restaurant. It does read as being a lot more complicated, but if you stick with it and follow it, it's like 3 stages really. The first stage is making a kind of casserole. It's with the lamb. You'll do it in a saucepan on the stove, on the oven top, on the stove, and you brown the lamb, add the onions and the vegetables, some wine and herbs, and leave it to bubble away for a couple of hours until the meat's nice and soft. While that's cooking, the second stage is your potatoes. You make the Greek oven potatoes. We've given a separate recipe for that, which is included. So the potatoes just go in the oven with, again, some herbs and spices, some lemon, some olive oil. Leave them for an hour and a half to cook. And then the meat and the potatoes should be ready at roughly the same time. And you can leave them to one side. Then if you're having a dinner party, or in our case in the restaurant, if we have an order, then you put the dish together You'd get, if it's at home and you're doing a dinner party and you want one big baking tray, you line it with your greaseproof paper, put the potatoes in, then the lamb, some cherry tomatoes, some cheese, cover it up, put it in the oven, leave it for 10 minutes, remove it, sprinkle feta, spring onions, put it back in again for just a little bit to brown, and that's your dish ready. You can either do it, like I say, in the big baking tray or in individual bowls. It looks a very professional dish when you make it. And like I say, it's an easy prepare ahead dish. Dinner parties, restaurants, ideal. So we hope you get to try it.
Yeah, I think there'll be. Well, I'd be a bit overwhelmed if I was listening to everything that you said.
It's all written
But
down.
it's all written down there. That's
and you
exactly
do it
what we're
step
saying.
by step,
So
3 steps to it, basically.
thank you, Mother, for writing down all the recipe for everybody. And I think it's something that they will enjoy making. Either they make the more rustic version or the green frog version. I think both are very nice, aren't they? Just depends on which one you want to do. So we're gonna be here. We're gonna be answering your comments and everything like that. We're gonna be interacting with you all while the video is playing, and then we'll have a little chat at the end of the video as well. So if our director over here, are we ready to go to the videos? Yeah. Okay. So it's all a bit of a good laugh. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you again in a bit. Today I'm joined by my mother yet again for my sins.
Hello.
There's my sister over here, Nicoletta, with Ronnie. And there's Adonis, who's going to help us dig a hole in a little bit. And Molly, and then there's Haiku there, the little Tasmanian devil. Thank God he's asleep. So today we're going to be making kleftiko. Kleftiko is a classic Greek favourite. It's a lot of people's favourite dish, especially when they come on holiday. It's not something you typically cook in your home on a normal everyday occasion. It's more of a special thing. A lot of the times it's not done justice, we feel. And it's a dish with a lot of historical significance. It has a big story to tell, and hopefully we'll get some of that over to you today, so you know the reality about the dish, and maybe we can all appreciate it a little bit more for what it actually means and what it actually is. First thing we need to do is make the marinade, and it has to be marinated overnight, ideally, or a couple of hours at least before you start cooking. So what do we need for the marinade?
Okay, so first of all, we'll start with our tray. Ideally it'd be plastic. We're going to put it into plastic afterwards, but for ease of showing you, this is what we're going to do.
She's saying it because it doesn't fit in the plastic thing that we have.
Alright, so. Now, we're adding olive oil.
Yes.
I'm not weighing or measuring anything, I'm just pouring it as I would do if I was doing it at home. The recipes, the quantities are given in the recipe, so don't worry. Like most Greek dishes, it's very, very forgiving, so you can put a little bit extra and it'll be all the better. Alex, you want to cut the lemons and squeeze the lemons in, that'd be lovely.
Yes, chef.
Thank you.
What do you do with our chopping board?
So, very good. So,
Squeeze the lemon juice.
I think the recipe says 1 lemon, but since lemons are quite abundant here, we'll use 2.
See, this is the way someone showed me they used to do it. You do like that and you catch all the...
Oh. Yeah.
It kind of works, and then you put your thumb in,
Yeah.
and then see it all come out.
Be even better if you had gloves on.
I have clean hands.
Yeah.
I have detergent.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Something like that.
Hand sanitizer
That's it.
that I use constantly.
And all the pips have just dropped in there. Never mind, it sounds good.
Look, all of that. Look at them.
Yeah. Okay. Right. While you're carrying on doing that, I'm going to add other ingredients. So in here is oregano. Can't make anything in Greece without oregano in it, so here we go. There's a whole lot of oregano going in there.
You just covered the pips, not too long.
That's good. We've got thyme going in here too.
Okay. How many people does this dish serve?
The lamb that we've got, I don't know what you bought, but it should be about 2 to 2.5 kilos.
It's 2 kilos the one we have.
Okay. If it's fresh lamb, it will shrink down a lot. So imagine about 6 people, Greek people, on a feast day, eating something like this would eat quite a lot of food. So yeah, 6 generous portions, I would say. So I'm putting pepper in now. You could also put the odd chilli in if you're into chilies and hot spicy food. It's not traditional, but we can do whatever we like, can't we? So salt. I'm putting in mustard. Thank you. I'm just putting in regular mustard. You could use whatever you like again. It's definitely not, no hard and fast rules. So that's all going in there. The other ingredient for the marinade is rosemary. This I picked off my sister-in-law's rosemary bush this morning while she wasn't looking. It's quite a nice big piece. Ideally, you'd chop it up into nice little pieces, but since we're going for the rustic approach today, I'll just, once Alex has mixed up the marinade here with the mustard in, I'll just put this in the bottom and then we'll pile everything else on top of it.
Right.
Mixing that nicely. I'm just going to pour some wine in here. This is in Nicoletta's reusable coffee cup, if that's possible. This is just white wine. You can use as much of it as you like, it will evaporate off.
Okay, is that ready?
Yeah, lovely. And then you delicately place the rosemary in there.
Okay.
Like I say, at home, if you were doing it, you chop it up finely, or you could even put all of this in the blender and mix it up. Another way of doing it. A little bit more refined, but we're going for the traditional country approach today.
So,
Okay, so that's a marinade.
that's it done.
Yep.
Right. Now the marinade is ready, and we're going to incorporate it with the lamb. All right. So what we're going to do now?
Okay, so now I've got
Exactly.
a whole leg of lamb.
Yes.
There are other ways of doing this, but for ease of doing the recipe today, we've got a whole leg of lamb. And it doesn't matter if bits fall out of it because they'll just go into the marinade anyway, so it's just, nothing goes to waste in this dish, which is good.
It's really amazing, isn't it, how certain foods come out of history. I think how they have a story to tell, and how much culture one thing has in it. I mean, there's a million different ways to make kleftiko, and if you think about it, probably the people back then, they would use whatever they had available, whatever they had in the mountain or whatever they could steal, they would put in. So there's probably no exact recipe, but I think the one we're doing today has been tried and tested out in the restaurant and seems to go down quite well.
Yeah. In the restaurant, we make a more, what should we say, refined version of this. So we take all the meat off the bone and cube it and cook it so that when you actually get to eat your meal, you've got nice bite-sized pieces of it. The way that we're doing it now, when it's actually ready, the meat will be falling off the bone anyway. So we're just going to separate it into individual portions, and it's a bit like pulled pork. It'll be so soft, it just takes whatever vegetables you want, the meat off the bone, and serve
The
it
only
up that way.
difference is lamb.
Yeah.
Pork.
Same principle, alright?
Okay. So that's it. Ready. Alright, so now it's time to chop up our veggies and we're going to add them into the mixture here with the lamb. So what veggies have we got, Adonis?
We've got some green peppers, onions, tomatoes, carrots, and some potatoes.
And a bit of cheese as
And
well.
a bit of cheese.
Okay.
A bit more garlic.
And a bit more garlic. Alright.
Okay, I will start chopping up.
Okay? Alright. So,
While I'm talking, I'm going to put a little bit more pepper on top of it so it looks nice.
okay. Beautiful. Okay. So while Adonis is prepping the veg, why don't you tell us a little bit about the beginning of the Green Frog?
Okay. So the Green Frog we started 28 years ago. Sounds like a long time, doesn't it? Ideally, in the beginning, when we started, I wanted to set up a nice little restaurant which would have about 5 tables, and we'd have a menu that had dishes that were cooked in big pans, and when they ran out, they ran out. That was my ideal thing.
Oh, it all worked out amazingly, that.
But we ended up with a huge restaurant. We employed, I hope he's not listening anywhere in the far off world, but anyway, no. We employed a chef, shall we say, and he's from the UK, but he's American, but that doesn't matter. And he came over and he told us that he could cook this amazing menu. I did begin to have doubts in the very early stages, and I was proved right. We had a disastrous first opening night. I came down into the restaurant and there were people screaming at me and shouting. The chef had cut his finger in the kitchen and he was bleeding all over the place, and some woman walked in the kitchen and she started screaming, saying, "What's this man done? And I don't want blood in my food." And another lady, we had...
It makes me stressed just listening to it.
Yeah. Another lady started waving something in my face, a plate of food. And she said, "What's this? What's this?" And I said, "I'm sorry, but I don't know." She said, "It's supposed to be a seafood pancake." And in my head, I assumed seafood pancake would be like a thin pancake with some sort of like creamy sauce with various bits of seafood inside it. Something quite refined.
Yes.
But it was like a charred flying saucer, and like a sort of like a burnt omelette, basically. Anyway, we managed to survive 2 weeks with this chef. I'm not sure how. And then, luckily, some friends of ours who had been talking to over the episode, over the previous 2 weeks, where they were supposed to be working didn't actually open, so they came along.
Who's that?
Liz was the chef and Spiros was the waiter, and they've been running restaurants for years. They had an awful lot of experience, and fortunately, to be God and everything, they put us on the right track. We've got completely different menus, started all over again, threw everything away out the fridges, and made a clean start, and from there on in, we did a whole lot better. A different type of restaurant to what I intended, but it's good.
You can't dictate these things always, can you?
No, in the beginning when we started, it was almost entirely British tourists, and so our menu was almost entirely British.
What she's saying is we used to do a lot of Sunday lunches and a lot of full English breakfasts.
Yeah, steak and kidney pies, gammon
Steak.
all those things.
And then it all changed around 2005, 2005, somewhere around there, I think, wasn't it?
Around about that, yeah.
Well, we came to this, we moved from the old Green Frog that was in the centre to this location here in 2004, and then I'd say a couple of years later is when what people wanted started to change, and I think it's just that people became more adventurous with trying foods, didn't they? I think that's what it is, and I think that a big thing that contributed to that was probably TV chefs, I'd say. You?
That and the ease of travel. People have been going to a lot more different countries, trying a different culture.
Yes, that as well.
No? No the tomatoes?
Just 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
Do the garlic though, that'd be good.
Alright.
Always need a bit more garlic.
How much?
Just those couple of
This?
pieces, that's
Okay.
So let's just show quickly and we'll continue the story. We've got all this stuff in here and we're going to mix it up in a moment.
It's a half a lemon there, but they put that in as well.
Okay.
Is it good at squeezing lemons?
So yeah, that's when people started to change, and that's when we changed our menu, wasn't it? To more Greek food.
Yeah, I think it's. Leave me alone.
The garlic in the vegetables. So
Yeah,
I put
yeah.
And the potatoes.
The potatoes we'll add at the end.
So I put the vegetables first and
Okay,
then.
so we're going to put the potatoes in.
Potatoes.
Chop them into 4 and then pop them in
Okay.
here. Obviously it depends on the size of your potatoes, but 4 is good for this. You don't want to cut them too small because this dish is going to cook for a very long time and they'll disintegrate and won't be good. Okay, that's lovely.
Okay.
If you want to throw the potatoes in.
Okay. And then.
Okay, then everything else can go in on top of this.
Okay. And the rosemary
Maybe the
as well.
rosemary can go underneath, yes, so the lamb can sit on it. It's making me hungry.
Colorful, huh?
Yeah.
So, and the tomatoes in the end.
Okay, so ideally, if we were cooking this dish at home, we would cook everything. We'd start off on quite a high heat. The details are in the recipe. We'd start off on a high heat and after 20 minutes turn the oven down and leave it on a low heat to cook for at least 2 hours. After the 2 hours is up, we would add tomatoes, which would, oh, you would like to put in the rest of the marinade?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd add tomatoes and we'd add cheese. We don't add it right from the beginning normally because they're a little bit more delicate than the other ingredients. The cheese would disintegrate alongside the tomatoes, so we would open the parcel after 2 hours of cooking, put the tomatoes and the cheese in, close it up, cook for another half an hour, and then half an hour before your end of the cooking time, open the parcel up, put the tray back in the oven, turn the heat up, and just brown everything off on the top so that you get nice golden, crispy skin on the meat. So now we just need to throw the tomatoes in.
Okay.
And if you can chop the cheese,
Yeah.
we'll put it into like dice-shaped pieces in amongst everything else.
Okay.
So the cheese we're using, in the recipe I think we say Graviera or Kefalotiri. basically it doesn't really matter too much what cheese you're using, but you do need to use a hard cheese. If any soft cheeses will just vanish into your cooking pot.
Just put around.
Yeah, just push them in any way you like. Okay, so we're putting in Graviera here. We're also adding Zakynthia oil cheese, Lavotiri they call it. Lavotiri, sorry, my English accent.
Right.
Okay, this cheese, I won't say it again, I'll probably pronounce it wrong, but the longer you leave it in the olive oil, the stronger the taste becomes. When it's been in the oil for a long time, it's very, very peppery and fiery. It almost burns your mouth off, doesn't it? Or it burns your tongue when you try it. But fortunately, the cheese we have at the moment is quite fresh and light tasting. So we have everything that we need in the baking tray now, in the roasting tin now.
Okay.
So all remains is to close it up.
So here we are, we found our spot in the back of the Green Frog. We haven't had much use for this garden over the years. We've played a few football matches, but now we're going to dig a hole and we're going to cook our electric. So here we go. This is what we do while we wait for the Kleftico later. So lots of good food, good wine, and good times. So after many hours of waiting and a few glasses of wine, it's finally time to unearth the Kleftico and see. Hello again. Really hope you enjoyed the video. We had lots and lots of fun making it, and it's great to be able to share all this stuff with you through these weird and hard times that we're going through. And really, we value your company very, very much, and it really makes us happy. So it's about this dish. Like the last thing I'd just like to say that it's 500 years later, after the story that we told, you know, we're serving it in our restaurant, and now with this video, a lot more people can hopefully understand the story and the value of this dish, and you see how much we love serving it and love doing what we do. Would you like to say something too?
Okay, I'd like to say I hope you all enjoy making this dish. I'd like to wish you all a very happy Easter if you're celebrating Easter.
Oh yeah, it's Easter. Happy Easter.
This weekend. And the following Sunday will be Easter over here too.
Oh yes, it will be.
So our next episode, we'll be making something Greek Eastery. We're not 100% decided yet.
We'll send
Something-
anyway. We'll post on
Yeah.
Facebook what we're gonna do,
Yeah.
and it'll be Thursday again. Okay. So yeah, again, thank you very, very, very much, and keep sending your messages, and we'll be keeping in touch with you, and see you on Thursday. Thanks a lot.